There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
Hey, Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. Wonderful to be on your airwaves now, broadcasting out of Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. As always, I'm your host, Craig, joined by Zeke. Hey, Zeke.
Hello.
And last week's, we are, of course, streaming on YouTube and Twitch. And before we get started today, I just wanted to quickly thank everyone for the huge response from the LitRPG roundtable last Thursday. Episode ended reaching far more people than I'd expected. It was really interesting seeing the conversation on YouTube, Reddit, and on social media afterwards. A lot of really thoughtful comments, recommendations, questions from listeners, and a ton of really interesting statements around how to get into this genre of lit RPG. So again, thanks for everyone who watched, commented, and shared recommendations.
I was one of them.
Yeah, thank you.
It was very entertaining.
Well, I didn't get around to actually acknowledging some of the really interesting comments, so I thought I'd quickly go over some of the key comments that came up in the YouTube and on the chat. So Moon Maiden 1 posted a comment saying, as a casual gamer, anime watcher, and lover of classic literature, this lit RPG space really scratches an itch that feels like it touches everything that I love about each of these things and combines it into a great medium that is easy to fall into. It's really interesting there, hearing how Moon Maiden 1 sees the genre resonating with them, that kind of media convergence idea, that it's got classic literature, lit RPG, a whole bunch of other connections to it. The gaming, anime, web fiction overlap as well. That's there in the space. The hybrid nature of lit RPG. Again, really interesting comment from Moon Maiden 1. Another comment from Deathcore Dad, WF5WS. I love some of these usernames. Commented
Deathcore or
Deathcore Dad.
Right.
Deathcore Dad.
Right.
2025 has been the year I found lit RPG genre, and I haven't looked back. I've read Dungeon Crawler Carl, He Who Fights with Monsters, Primal Hunter, Mage Tank, and Chrysalis, and I can't get enough. Again, it really crystallizes, I think, that binge consumption that happens within a whole bunch of genres, in particular lit RPG, and the type of depth that's in this publishing space. There's quite a few different systems. And, lit RPG, while it's mainly fantasy, there's also horror lit RPGs, science fiction lit RPGs. So there's a couple of different
It's interesting as well. I mean, as you found out from their Discord, which is where they posted about your show,
yes, and
everything, and then all those people funneled in, that they've obviously got that sort of gaming culture element into this book, what is essentially like a book community. So it's sort of, it is that hybrid of both of them.
Yeah, look, and you can see how fandom within the lit RPG space is interactive. And as you're saying with gaming, particularly that kind of let's play space where you will have gamers live streaming as well as game producers making care of making good audience communication, community organization, and communication. So you can see that, within this community. It is interesting, the kind of discovery space. KCC Raps commented that I think the main reason that lit RPG has exploded so fast and has caused a shift in literature is doing differently is the fact that they develop the main character more deeply. You get invested into the main character and group characters. And I think that's mainly due to the fact that lit RPGs often serialized long-form storytelling. You're looking at, He Who Fights with Monsters, what are they up to? Book 12 or something now? So enormous long-form writing that has, as you were saying before, Zeke, that big audience engagements. And within that, I think the as KCC Raps points out, the development of the main character, which is all explicit, there's visible growth mechanics within these stories where there's, it's not your soft magic Gandalf, Lord of the Rings space where he's a kind of mythical figure. You don't quite understand his power set. Whereas in LitRPG, all that's made explicit. You have specific, much like karate systems or something, level up systems, mana, everything's very explicit and understandable in terms of the growth of the characters. This is quite interesting. Lake McQueenie commented that the narrators are key to the success of LitRPG audiobooks. You all should pay Heath Miller in royalties. Heath Miller is the audiobook voice actor for He Who Fights with Monsters, and he's gone on to some success now with other audiobook narrations. And many people talk about the audiobooks being their entry point into LitRPG and books in general. From a radio perspective, fantastic news.
Fantastic.
that again, audio being central, I think it's certainly a pathway of professionalization that's wrapped up in podcasting, radio. So yeah, the audio. Are you into audiobooks yourself, Zeke? Do you listen to?
No, weirdly, I'm not, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I don't really listen to books. And there's something about it that just doesn't translate. You'd think it would translate very easily, but there's something about me that's like, why would I listen to a book? I don't know. That's not to put it down. Anyone who does it, I understand. It's a great way to, similar to why I listen to podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, no, there's just like a disconnect there in my head for some reason.
There is, there is a tournament of value, as Janapa Dorai would put it, tournament of value or questions around cultural capital when it comes to reading a book or listening to the audio book and the value spectrum that some people impose upon that. It's very subjective. I'm always grabbing, the Audible deals to grab as many audiobooks as I can.
And they're so much cheaper as well, technically, because obviously they're not being printed on paper, real paper, somewhere and then being shipped and et cetera, et cetera. They're just digital, so it's a lot cheaper. Yeah,
look, it's certainly able to take advantage of mobile phones and the circulation in, when you're walking, you can have that audio in the background playing. LitRPG is interesting in that, in terms of many LitRPG. I know He Who Fights with Monsters was kind of web novel, internet-based, Royal Road, and then it got picked up by Podium to circulate their audiobook version of it, and that's what then triggered a second audience engaging with it. So I know that the audiobook listeners for He Who Fights with Monsters have been a kind of pathway of that success story for that series. It is. Yeah, the audiobook stuff. Finally, Thunder Blaze 9,997. Thunder Blaze 9997. I absolutely devoured this stream despite having not read any of their books. These people are so lovely and charismatic, and I just love seeing them talk about the genre that I love so much. And again, that idea of audiences caring about the creators and community, it does seem like a really generous creator culture.
That was also an interesting part of it to me, was the idea that they have, a sort of a official Discord, or I don't know if it's a Discord.
A Patreon.
Explicitly, yeah. And it's interesting to be like inviting the audience in to then sort of have a discourse on the official forum of it and be like, talking about like where the story's going and how everything's happening, and that the author can sort of dip their toes into that and confirm or deny or take some things from what people are discussing. It's a very interesting way that I don't think many other book communities sort of interact.
Yeah, look, and it was interesting hearing how they navigate the, I guess that power play between the audience and the author. Who ultimately determines the direction the story's going to go in. I think Ryan was saying that sometimes they're spot on, they're dead right. I think Haylock also said though that if he had been listening to some of the fan desires, there'd be different character developments that would come up. And I know with Breaking Bad and many other series, so in conventional mainstream media, there are cases where main characters were meant to have been killed off in early seasons. Like I think Jesse Pinkman's character in Breaking Bad was meant to die at the end of season 1 or 2, but the audience reaction to him was so strong that they decided to write him in as a significant character. So again, that play between fans and creators is it needs to be
probably
collaborative.
A bit like Saul Goodman as well, like the lawyer in Breaking Bad. Like I don't know if the guy who wrote it, I can't remember his name, but if he ever thought that like I'm going to make a spin-off show about this guy. I don't know if he had that thought when he created him, but obviously he became such a loved character that happened.
Yeah, so again, these spaces, it's interesting to see their organic, I guess, collaborative environment they can grow within. It can be really, really interesting. Well, we'll get around to, if we get time at the end of the episode, we'll maybe touch on some more of the live stream comments. The one comment from the live stream I want to acknowledge now and apologize for was the number of comments that were criticizing Shirtaloon for sending the wrong link to the live stream. I think there was a hilarious comment of someone saying, half his fan base is watching the wrong video, waiting for it to start. Because I think I'd sent him a link to another video that I'd made. Again, it was my fault.
Yeah.
Seconds, I think, before we went to air, I think Tev suggested, hey, we should post this to the Patreon and Discord communities linked to the books, to the authors. And I said, great. But I hadn't had a link ready to send. So my fault entirely. I'm thrilled for those that managed to get to the chat and watch it. Apologies for those that did go to the wrong live stream. I don't even know which one it was.
They say they're still there to this day.
That's right. They say they're still there this day. So yes, thanks again for persevering with that. Right. So. Yeah. It's cool. Yeah, it gets me in the mood for talking about news. So first little bit of news to touch upon is an article where Robert Kirkman sparks debate with bold claim about manga and image comics. This is interesting in terms of, is the future of American comics not the next superhero blockbuster, but the next kind of broader ecosystem, like a kind of manga mix he's talking about, like Pokemon or something, where it's a much more kind of transmedia, multimedia production process of creating comics. So this was an article where Robert Kirkman, who's the author of Incredible, of course. Invincible. Sorry, Invincibles.
Incredible is the Disney animated Pixar film. Yeah.
Did he also do Walking Dead?
I think so. I believe he also did that, yeah.
So he argues that as manga grows globally, it naturally funnels readers towards image comics, he says, rather than superhero-dominated Marvel and DC. So manga, as the Japanese comic form, has a really broad genre base in terms of there's, police procedurals, there's horror, there's comedy,
there's everything.
Yeah, cooking explanation manga. There's when I was over in Japan, I bought a How to Drive book. That was manga.
Yeah, it's like because comics technically can also be anything.
That's right. They're a genre neutral platform.
Yeah, and there are a lot of comics that aren't just superheroes and stuff like that. But obviously, comics in the West, especially, have become dominated by superheroes and by all that sort of stuff. Whereas in Japan, it is free game, everything, anything, sport, cooking, anything.
Many people point to Frederick Wertham, a sociologist in the 1950s for causing a kind of media panic, moral backlash against comics, where he'd argued that juvenile delinquency during the 50s was based on and rooted in bad character archetypes in comic books. And at that point, comic books also, there were a lot of Western comics, like cowboy comics, horror comics, crime comics, salacious comics.
Well, that was
right?
like, because Batman, right, was like the comic that Batman was in, right, was
Detective Comics. Yep.
Yeah, and it existed, like, it was the previous issues before Batman. There were previous issues before Batman, and so Batman didn't enter the picture until however many issues in, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Either that one or the one
Action
that
Comics
Superman was in, Action Comics. Yeah.
Well, certainly competing against DC, there was a whole number of publishers, certainly in America in the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So again, there was a sense that comics was on a similar trajectory to Japan, where it was for adults, for kids, for teenagers, right? But then the Wortham court case meant that if you, as a result of it, if you wanted those adult comics, you needed to ask for them behind the counter, right? So dime stores, wherever you'd pick them up, you couldn't get them just on the rack anymore. So basically it drove down sales of those adult comics. And what was left were really saccharine sweet kind of kids comics that had all the life banged out of them. Whereas Japan post-war period, where the manga boom really set off, there was not that moral media backlash against them. So what's interesting today, though, is superheroes do dominate the comic market. But he's saying if now you've got a global readership of manga, which is engaging in a really broad kind of genre base as well as age base for this form, if they're going to go to American comics through manga, it's not going to be DC or Marvel, which is really narrow. It'll be Image Comics, which is broader, right? You've got Walking Dead, you've got Invincible, right? So you've got adult-themed dramas, horrors, similar to what you'd have in the manga. Of course, much tinier, but a little similar to the diversity. So, yeah, it's an interesting kind of pipeline idea that Kirkman here is arguing, that there'll be a manga, to anime pipeline, which he sees as key to manga success, that manga leads to anime. And he's saying similar to Invincible, where it started as a comic and then went to an animation that became really successful.
Or The Walking Dead as a comic into a live action. Yeah.
So that's a similar pipeline that you see in Japan, with manga being the basis of a lot of the pop culture that developed there, into other forms as it went through transmedia or adaptation. He's also saying that, there's a genre diversity within manga and anime, but certainly manga, that's similar to Image Comics. And that's not like Marvel and DC, which is still, superhero, your Batmans, your Supermans, your Captain Americas and Iron Man. So yeah, it's an interesting argument there from Robert Kirkman.
It is quite funny though that but he must be one of the main guys like involved with Image Comics or whatever. I think that my company is the best place where people go. Yeah.
Great point. Yeah, so do take it with a grain of salt. It's worth questioning because Marvel and DC are dominant. And the Marvel adaptation.
Then that's the thing.
Comics.
No one. I mean, they use the comics as inspiration for stories that they do in the movies and stuff. But I mean, how many people are really engaging with the comic anymore? Whereas I think probably the engagement from anime viewers to the manga is probably a better sort of conversion rate between. Between both.
Well, certainly, I think Marvel and DC have struggled to see the sales in their comics that the cinematic universe, and also they're very different spaces. I mean, the Marvel comic book space, there's ongoing titles that have been running in a kind of soapy format for decades.
And the other thing, the movie or the movie or the TV show or whatever is never a direct adaptation. Whereas most manga to anime is just a direct adaptation of the manga as an animation. So it's a bit different.
Sorry, what are you saying?
Like the comics are never one-to-one with what the comic is, whereas the anime is strictly, in most cases, an adaptation of the manga.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. There's certainly, what's interesting is, say, Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion started as an anime, then a manga adaptation began of it.
Yeah,
so it was a reverse one. But the manga got to a point where it was ahead of the anime. I think so. Again, they started to just go ahead with the manga story, while the anime was held up, and then the manga went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Right? So there are moments a bit like Game of Thrones, right, where the book series is the mothership, but then there's a point at which the TV series passed where the books had been written, and it was his own thing.
Yeah.
So this is really, again, media learning to optimize for audiences. So Kirkman's saying in Japan, the manga anime or manga mix environment is really optimized for that audience, is huge. And maybe in the West, there's a pipeline into that. The second story, which one of my favorites over the last few weeks, the headline from PC Gamer is, there's a game coming out this year where you fight your Steam backlog, and it's more dangerous the more you've spent. This is such a great idea. So
it's just like games that you've never played but you own.
Well, they become more powerful, right? So again, it's a great concept. So the concept is, what if your gaming guilt, right, your backlog of shame came to life and was armed with every dollar you wasted on unplayed games. So the more money you've spent on a game that you've never played, it has a more powerful power set, more bullets or something. I don't know how they're doing it. But yeah, basically, so it's a new indie game called Game Quest, the Backlog Battler. And it turns your Steam backlog into a deadly enemy. You battle, so it's a third-person shooter, you battle animated floppy disks representing unplayed games with the difficulty tied to how much money you spent on these games. So,
so each individual floppy disk is directly proportional to their strength, is directly proportional to how much money you spend on it.
That's right, yeah. Right. So if you bought a launch titled AAA game for like $80, but you just never got around to playing it, that is one
do you reckon
powerful
it
enemy.
Because, they have like a lot of good sales, especially on AAA games and stuff that are really old. Do you think it would be as powerful as it is full retail price, or when you bought it on sale?
Well, it wouldn't be as powerful. So if you bought it for 99 cents when it was like first released for $99, and then you bought 99 cents, it would be proportionately that much weaker. Right. But it also is that question of, would you rather fight, one gorilla or 30, chimpanzees or something, like small animals, like, and again, it's like, would you rather fight the one AAA title that you spent $99 on and didn't play, or 30 50-cent titles? So yeah, it's such a fun idea in terms of, fighting enemies based on the games you've bought but not played or barely played.
How much is the game?
I think I don't know if it's been released yet. I think it's just in alpha. Worth checking. I mean, this article came out 4th of May.
So I wonder if the game itself is the final boss.
That's right. Unfortunately, I guess you're playing it. Yeah, worth checking out. I do love the idea that the more you paid for a game, the harder it will hurt you. It also says in the article, high Metacritic scores let enemy fly. So if you're playing a game that has a high Metacritic score, it has the ability to fly in the game. The satirical horde battler was developed by Nick Taylor. It's due out in 2026. So check dates.
So interesting. They should create some other modifier that's based on if it has an overwhelmingly positive or negative review score.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's got highly rated games. So that high Metacritic score lets them fly, and they've got to be swatted down with a kind of keyboard weapon that you've got. So it makes sure your most acclaimed, if you've got a really highly rated, unplayed game that you spend a lot of money on, you're in a world of pain. right? If it's something like, I don't know,
It'd have to be, what's a really expensive game?
GTA 4 or 5, any of the GTAs.
Trying to think of one that's like over $100. I can't really think of
Well,
one.
if you bought it on launch, a GTA game, you would have...
Yeah, I guess it's probably usually, it's probably about
And
that
they're
price.
very highly rated. And that they would be tough.
Yeah. They should also link it to the like achievements. They just have another another modifier based on how many achievements you've got.
So yeah, you better start playing that backlog now if you're planning to get into a game. I mean, the thing I love about this article, it does tap into that anxiety around digital abundance, right? It's not like I'm going home and my bedroom is full of unplayed games in the clamshell plastic. You know, the Steam game or like Epic Games, like I'll be picking up all the free games that Epic Games offers. And digital abundance just sitting there on, I haven't even downloaded it. It's just in the cloud.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. You don't have to have all those games
But it is
physically.
But there is that anxiety around. I've got all those games now, but I don't have time to play them.
Yeah.
I'm never playing these games, if I want to be honest. This game and idea directly confronts that. You know, your digital kind of abundance that you've created. Is there a cost? What is the cost of that?
The real cost is that you'll be destroyed.
You'll die in this game. You'll definitely die
Imagine
in this
like
game.
all your like Ubisoft games or something just like come out as one. You know?
I'm so looking forward to playing. I've got such a huge pile of shame in my Steam account. So yeah, we'll report back to you.
You're gonna have to. You could stream this.
Yeah, we'll do
Go
a
against
live
your,
media mothership episode.
Go against your backlog.
So the next interesting article in the similar vein, PC gamers buy way more games that cost less than $30 at launch compared to PlayStation and Xbox players, analysts say, and it's reshaping the PC market. This is an article from Games Radar, and it's an interesting piece. I mean, it turns out that the future of gaming isn't about those big $70 blockbusters. It's about a quieter revolution where PC players are voting with their wallets, that they're just looking for cheap, cost-effective games that are $30 or less.
I will say for like a lot of the games that I will play with friends who buy and play a lot more games than I do, a lot of them are getting like games that are like, I don't know, $15 or something like that, and they're more sort of like trendy games, you know, like there's a certain trend with, like one of them is like where there's, like that one, but there's also like a sort of a genre that's sort of formed with like the games that integrate voice, so you can speak in the game with your mic.
Okay.
And also a lot of ones that have that feature but are also sort of horror based, but like sort of quirky, funny, like you're with your mates having a fun time in a haunted mansion where monsters show up, and there's like voice detection. So if you're not near them, you can't hear them, but if you are, you can.
See, this would be, I mean, we're an audio format.
Exactly, it'd be great. But like, there's a lot of those games, and a lot of them are really cheap. Yeah. And like, so they'll be like, oh, I'm going to buy. You know, basically it's kind of the same game. It's a little bit different, but like the same game, but you buy it like 5 times for like $10 or $15
For the group, yeah.
Yeah, and so you're basically just playing the same game but slightly different multiple times, and it's sort of just hopping on the trend.
And it's an interesting comparison between PC gamers and PlayStation, Xbox console players, where you're not going to get those cheap games often.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, because especially you're probably more casual if you're on PlayStation. I mean, you might play PlayStation a lot, but like you're a bit more casual in like what games you buy. You just buy one game or like a couple of games, and you just like play those religiously. You know, you play Call of Duty or Battlefield or insert other warfare game.
AAA. Blockbuster,
just all those. Like but you just play that for like God knows how
Mario,
many hours.
Party, yeah. Look, and those aren't cheap, right?
Yes.
Those ecosystems aren't as competitive, I guess, than the PC space. So it is It is interesting how PC gamers are driving, the article talks about they're driving this massive shift in the market by buying significantly more full-priced games, right? So they'll pay the full amount for the game, but it will be $30 and under, right?
Yep.
So the game launches at $30 or under, and this is compared to the PlayStation, Xbox players who, aren't going to be buying as many full-priced games because the full-priced game on those platforms are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And while there are equally expensive games on the PC, Steam space and so forth, they're
like all those AAA games are probably on PC as well.
But because it's more competitive, there are more choices. We are seeing this emerging $30 and less space grow up in popularity.
And you're more likely to, like,
Budget games.
if you don't care about playing a AAA game day of and you're willing to wait like a year or something, it's very likely it'll come on Steam and it will have a good discount. Whereas, like, I feel like if you go like physically on like physical games on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, you're not really going to find the same discount. So,
I think there are a lot of seasonal sales that get a lot of hype on PC. I mean, the article says that since 2022, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox have seen similar percentage growth in cheap game sales, around 40 to 50% sales.
Well,
growth.
it probably helps that they have like their own online marketplaces now as well. Like they have their own stores that you can just surf and stuff like that. Although I went through like the Nintendo one the other day.
Oh, okay.
And it's just really painful. It's really painful to try and navigate that with the controllers and stuff like that. Yeah,
the physical experience of just scrolling through that. Yeah. Well, it says, So while all the PC and console space have seen similar growth in that cheap budget sales category, PC gamers, however, are spending way, way more money in that space than your console gamers. So, while you can find budget games, as you're saying, you can go onto Nintendo Marketplace or whatever and find some budget classic games. You'll pick up a couple, but the number of people buying games is less in those console spaces than in PC. Whereas, it
would be interesting to see if they could somehow get data on like the average amount of play time per game compared like with PC versus console. Because I feel like it would be disproportionate. Like PlayStation, Xbox people would have like thousands of hours on average on one game, whereas on PC it would be more like a couple of hundred maybe. Because I feel like there is a lot of like you buy this game, you play it for I don't know a month, and then you move on to something else. Whereas Xbox and PlayStation, you really grind one thing for like years.
It sounds like a confession, Zeke.
No, I don't play them. I don't play on console. That's
all right. Next article from Rock Paper Shotgun. Headline reads, "It's expensive and it doesn't age. Why Ken Levine didn't aim for realistic graphics in BioShock and won't for Judas either." Ken Levine is a BioShock creator. BioShock's a really popular video game. His latest upcoming game, Judas, he's been interviewed and has said he will prioritize unique art style over photorealistic graphics, arguing that chasing realism is too expensive and ages poorly. Instead of relying on cutting-edge hardware, his team is focusing their resources on complex narrative branching and player choice, similar to Baldur's Gate 3. It's an interesting idea there that the you do assume that the AAA space is kind of obsessed with chasing the next graphics leap, that it's all about hyper-realism, incredible detailing, super realistic faces. But, the guy behind one of the big game successes over the last decade, BioShock, has said, no, that's not the direction to go in, the hyper-realism direction. It dates really badly. If you have a look at games that were saying they're hyper-realistic 5 years ago or 10 years ago, they've not held up. Instead, go stylist.
Yep.
go kind of, that cell-shaded cartoon vibe or
Actually,
something.
interestingly, to connect this through back to what the previous story, I do think that there are probably some people who like getting the cheaper games because usually they're more indie games, right? They usually have a unique art style to them and everything, and they're not doing this whole like hyper-realistic thing. And I feel like that's sort of also part of... I mean, they're cheaper, obviously, but I feel like they're also going like, I don't really want that. I want something that looks cool, looks interesting, is a bit more creative.
Because it is like the number of games, I guess, that get remastered because their hyper-realistic original version just doesn't hold up.
There was one recently that I was... Oh, it was they announced the Black Flag, the Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, and it's like, it looks better, but I'm just like, yeah.
It's the same game, and maybe you could have spent that to do the next game.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got a highly stylized game, I guess. I mean, you could say that with the Nintendo approach, right? Mario Brothers, all of that game space, it's not led by hyper-realism.
Yeah.
As opposed to, Call of Duties. I mean, those ones have really dated badly if you look at those early Call of Duties. And they're all, if you look at the promotions of them, they're all kind of like, this is hyper-realistic warfare, it's Saving Private Ryan, and you try to play those games now and it's jank, I think, as the gamers would say. But yeah, I do think it kind of confronts that myth that gaming is all about, or producing a game is all about hyper-realism or spending more and more money on a style that's going to date badly. I
see it's interesting, like, if you're creating a game that, you want to try and do hyper-realistic, but then everyone who does hyper-realistic is basically going towards the same goal, whereas, like, two people who want to make a similar game but have a different, vision for the art style, they'll end up looking completely different.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can have the same mechanic, a stealth mechanic or something, but one is...
It's like Call of Duty, Battlefield... Right, like in the hyper-realistic look, they end up looking very similar. But if they were stylized, and they were stylized with different visions in mind, they would look completely different.
Yeah, I remember that ragdoll mechanic, like when it became really sophisticated, you'd have it being used in hyper-realistic games as an explosive thing. But then I remember playing a game where you were shooting yourself out of a cannon to see yourself ragdolling. And it was very cartoon style, and you'd splatter.
I think that, and there are some games that are like, they're not hyper-realistic, but they're like, they use the sort of realistic textures and all this stuff, but they use it for the purpose of then doing really weird stuff. So that's kind of part of it. It's stylized in the sense that, like, it's realistic-looking things doing crazy stuff. So,
and I think also it's worth speculating on the hardware trends that are also coinciding with this. I mean, in the article, Levine points to consoles like the Switch 2 and the new Steam machines as proof that the industry is hitting diminishing returns on raw graphical power and is shifting focus towards form factor and smart design. I mean, I'd add to that the spiraling cost of RAM.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that you are hitting diminishing returns in terms of the amount of money that it costs to get RAM to the reward that you will get from it.
That's the thing. Like, how many people want to spend the money to have the hardware to run something that's hyper realistic when it's not even going to look that good in a couple of years? Yeah.
No, look, I think there are hardware trends that, again, Switch 2 and Steam machines are countering that idea of it needs to constantly be bigger and better and more of everything, to instead going for, form factor, smart design. Is it portable? How does it work with my lifestyle? Rather than I'm just going to sit behind a game.
I still think there's I respect the games that try and like push the limits of the technology like that. They're not trying to say this looks like hyper realistic, but they're saying like we're trying to give you the best that this system can put out. And like I respect that because somebody's going to do that. That's a niche in there. But yeah, as long as you're not going out and being like, this is the most hyper-realistic game ever, it's like... Nah.
Well, on that, the next article is quite a bit of fun. I love the headline. The best narrative designers from Call of Duty producers to BioWare vets are being inspired by your excellent designs for your uncontrollable horniness. I've been reading a lot of fan fiction, quote unquote. So, to explain this, turns out the next big video game story might not come from the writer's room. It might come from a notes app on a fanfic thread. Basically, the article is talking about how at Game Developers Conference 2026, narrative designers from major studios like Gearbox and BioWare revealed they're turning to fan fiction and reality TV shows like Love is Blind for story inspiration. They call it research into human drama and emotional highs and lows. It's because fan fiction came up last week in the LitRPG roundtable, and all the authors said they stay away from it, mainly for one of the concerns was legal concerns. That ideas can bleed out, right? They're reading a fan fiction in their book world. A fan's written some Mary Sue story, and there's a good idea there, a kernel of a good idea that then they take. And later on you hear, I know the South Park creators have been accused of plagiarism from people who are fans that have created a fanfic piece, and then that idea they've claimed has ended up on an episode.
Yeah.
So again, the LitRPG authors were saying they just don't touch it because it can lead to accusations that you were aware of an idea which was somewhere else, and which is a real shame in terms of, as this article is saying, fan fiction can be a fantastic place to get ideas from, or to see how the fan community is writing emotions, how it's engaging with drama, how it's engaging with unconventional seduction, maybe, right? Because you've got all those stories, of course, like of slash fiction, the classic one being Kirk/Spock, where you take the Star Trek heteronormative characters of Kirk and Spock, and then in the fan fiction setting, they're lovers. Kirk has Spock's baby. All these, I've not read it. All these great stories. The other thing about fan fiction I always love championing is it's a great way to learn how to write well. In terms of, if you're a young writer and you don't know how to write, if you consider yourself a male point of view or male writer and you're struggling with a female point of view and you're struggling to feel authentic with that voice, if you're a Harry Potter fan and you know Hermione's character through and through, write a Hermione fanfic, right? It'll allow you to see that female point of view from a position of confidence and literacy, because you know fan fiction, you know the Harry Potter universe, and you're able to do a fan fiction within the Harry Potter universe with those.
Could also just ask some women.
Let's. You could see, bring in the truth with us. SMS in.
Or you could read a fanfic written by a woman about a woman.
You should always do your research. You should always do your research. But sometimes you just want to be in your writing cocoon. Yeah. And just, write a good Princess Leia fanfic.
Sure. And then it'll appear in the next Star Wars series.
That's right. That was my idea. So, there's a couple of really fascinating key points in the article. The article goes on to talk about how fan fiction's a goldmine. Writers are reading fanfic to understand raw, unfiltered emotional storytelling and character dynamics. Reality TV as a drama lab.
I don't know about the reality TV one. That's a bit...
So they're saying, I've not seen the show Love is Blind.
I think, are they just blind? Is it people who are... I think.
Anyway, they're saying that Love is Blind offers unscripted, high-stakes human interaction that fuels narrative ideas. And finally, the idea that the article talks about quite a lot is people are thirsty. People are thirsty. Creators say audiences crave deeper, more personal stories, and fanfic actually delivers in spade that idea of that experience. Yeah. Oh, so cool. I'm loving I'm loving that experience. right, ending the show now. Yeah, look, it's 5 o'clock. We got to end the show.
5 o'clock.
Start with my open.
There is nothing wrong with your radio.
All right, so thanks very much for
Do
listening
not attempt to adjust the volume.
to the show. Coming up now, we got great Edge Radio music. Keep listening to Edge Radio 99.3 F.
M.
Oh.